Welcome back to another episode of the Downsizing Roadmap Podcast with your hosts, Jody Roscoe and Heather Fisher. We're talking about all things downsizing, from our own experiences with clients to guest experts. Let's make downsizing easier, one conversation at a time.
Hi, welcome to Downsizing Roadmap. I'm Heather Fisher.
And I'm Jody Roscoe.
And we're excited. We've got a really helpful topic today on the 8 things your future self will thank you for letting go.
Yeah, I think these are really great ones. Make sure you stick with us till the end because there's some things you may not think about. But I think that there's some just really easy ways to simplify our life, whether you're downsizing or not, honestly. Just easy ways to simplify our life that we can do, and it will just take so much weight off of us.
Yeah, I'm in the throes of this as we prepare for a move, and more than I would like to admit, is just going to donation or, other places other than being packed for, our next house. And it just keeps triggering in my mind, like, I haven't needed this for all of these years that I've had it. What would, that weight have been lifted if I had done this sooner? So yeah, definitely there's so many easy things to get rid of if you just do it.
Yeah, if you're looking for donation places, if you're going to work on this, if you're looking for donation places, check out our website, downsizingroadmap.com. We have some great places to donate. Absolutely. And I think it makes it easier when you donate it to somebody who's really going to put it to good use. And so there are so many people with giant hearts out there that are doing great things in our communities. And so if you're in our community, like I said, check out ours. If you're not, I'm sure that you can easily find places in your community that are doing wonderful things. And it's easier, I think, to let it go if you know it's going to somewhere good. And we've spent the money on it already. Like, let that go. It's happened. It's over. You got whatever use out of it you were going to get out of it. And if you haven't touched it, if it's dusty, it's time for it to go.
Yeah, I'm definitely, as I go through our stuff, I'm definitely running that gamut of emotion that we talk about. There's the doubt, there's the questioning, should I keep it, whatever, but I'm finding myself more and more being confident in landing on, I don't need this, and getting rid of it. And the emotion that sticks after the day is done is, oh, that feels good.
Yeah.
I'm glad that I did that. Yes, absolutely. So yeah, we can talk about these 8 things and hopefully get some more people to that feeling of less overwhelm and relief.
Yeah. And that, like I said, is, if you're making a move, do that, because I ended up moving a bunch of stuff. I've told this story before, but I ran out of time doing it because we found a house that when we weren't looking, that's when we find the house. And so we're always advocating for you guys to just get on it, and you don't know what's going to happen next, right? You don't know if it might be sooner than you think. But it would have been great if I didn't spend a bunch of money and time moving things that I didn't need to move.
Yes, and that's my hope, is to not do that.
Yeah, you watched me do it.
We've and many clients as well. We've had the longer time frame, with this plan in motion for a longer time. But, human nature, I still procrastinate. And so now we're getting up on, the deadline sooner than I thought it would come. And
which is exciting.
It's exciting, but I feel that pressure, but I'm just so determined to work hard, and I'll keep you all updated on how it goes. But I just don't want to move stuff into the new space just to stare at it, in the box or wonder where to put it. So trying really hard.
Yeah, I can't wait. I can't wait to see it all. So it's going to be amazing. We're going to just talk a little bit about what it is, why we keep it, what's the emotional cost of keeping it, what your future self gains by letting it go, and then, some kind of a visualization prompt to let yourself reframe that decision, look at it from a different lens.
Yeah, some really great questions to ask yourself.
Okay, so number 1, we're going to...
items you're keeping to make someone else happy.
Yes.
So these are the type of things like gifts you've received, guilt is not a gift.
Guilt is not a gift.
Yes, our favorite line. Heirlooms that you may have inherited just because they got passed your way, not necessarily because you chose them or that they're an heirloom from your life. They're just someone else's.
Right.
Or someone else wants you to keep it and honor it, probably because they delayed the decision themselves.
Yeah, I got a lot of that stuff. And I think different people, some people are more sentimental than other people. And I think sometimes the sentimental people realize they can't keep it all, but then they want you to keep it because they're sentimental.
Yeah.
And so they have a hard time balancing that, because then when you don't want to keep it, if you're not a person who's sentimental, then they're like, ugh, like that's just a horrible thing that you're doing. And so tons of guilt comes with that thought process.
Yes.
And what we're trying to do in this segment is to have you, have a house that where everything has a purpose, where everything brings joy or reflects who you are or who you're becoming, because we talk a lot about that in our mindset, not who you've been. We can keep some reminders of where we've been and who we've been. I think that's important legacy, but we also have to always be looking forward to who are we becoming and what is that person, and that can help us let go of a lot of things. Is this me anymore? And so this stuff never was you in the first place. Actually, it's not even is it me or is it my future me? It never was you.
Yeah, exactly. And it's hard when someone's given you a gift and you know that they wanted to gift it to you, but not everything hits the mark or just goes with what you want. And it's okay. These, the people that you're wanting to preserve those feelings, they've likely given you a ton of gifts. You don't have to keep everything. You don't have to have that be a representation back of how much you care for them by keeping it or putting it out. Certainly, if there are things that you're only pulling out when they're coming to visit and you're not even keeping out all the time out of, appreciating that gift, those are the things to just let go, guilt-free.
Because think about the emotions that come behind that, right? So you are so worried if they come over that they aren't going to see whatever that thing is that, you're so worried about it. And the worry is not worth that.
Your relationship is based on the joy of that time spent together and the family activities or the social activities with your friends. It's not based on, whether you see something. I mean, I always imagine, I can't imagine going into someone's house that I'm friends with and searching for a gift I gave. And
so I can hear y'all out there going, my mom is looking for that thing. And I hear you, because I feel like my mom was sometimes looking for that thing, and where is it, and what have you done with it? And sometimes I think it's a candid conversation around what that looks like, and whether you can do that in your relationship or not, that's up to you. But I think sometimes it's like, but I got this from you and I love it and I'm keeping that out, and this other thing I just don't have as much use for, or whatever that looks like. You never want to hurt their feelings. It's not about that. But those are some tough ones. But ask yourself, is this keeping your vision of your space not being able to be what it is, like what you want it to be? I'm not using the right words for that, but like, is it stopping your space from being what you want it to because it's full of everybody else's things that they want you to have? Like,
is it this, or my notes say, is it leaving room for your own style and your own needs?
Yes.
Or is it just
all filled with everybody else's stuff? Or is it down in the basement where nobody's enjoying it, or in the attic, or in storage, or shoved somewhere in the back of a closet where nobody's even actually enjoying it? That's not honoring it anyway. Yeah. Right?
So one question you can ask yourself about these items that you might be hesitant is, would you still keep this if no one else ever knew that you gave it away? I highlighted that in my notes. I think that's such a valuable question.
Right.
Because while you're trying to honor everybody else's memories and all of that, make sure you're honoring yourself. And would it take up space if you in your life, if you could give it away and no one knew?
Yeah. And I think that I have some things like that at my house now that I need to work on, honestly. Yeah.
We probably all do. But if it's an overload, definitely address that category.
Yeah. Okay, number 2 is clothes that represent a past version of you. So things that we can let go. Clothes that represent a past version of you. So why do we keep them? Aspirational sizing. I'm going to fit into that again. Here's what I'm going to say. If you lose a bunch of weight, you are going to want new clothes. You are not going to want your 10-year-old jeans that used to fit you and now, they don't. You're going to be like, I am going to go get myself something amazing because I feel amazing about myself.
Yeah. I was thinking about this category as we were getting ready for today, and I think that I fight giving away clothes because I hate the question in my own head of what am I going to wear to what, fill in the blank, whatever the event is or my daily things. I hate thinking about what to wear. I'm not a fashion driven person. I hate thinking about if I have the right thing. So I think I hide behind having more in my closet than I need because I think that will take that question away.
Yeah, I have plenty in here to wear.
There'll be something in there, but if I'm honest with myself, no matter how much is hanging on the hangers, I'm only gravitating to that 20%. Back to our earlier episode on the 80-20 rule. I definitely live in that, and the other stuff, I buy it, I don't wear it, I donate. It's like a cycle of hoping that I'll enjoy that process more of deciding what to wear.
I did start doing that where we turn the hangers around, and it's probably been 4 or 5 months since I've done a clean out of my closet and then turned those hangers around. And there are definitely hangers that are still turned around, and if you use that system, so you clean out your closet, you put all the hangers in backwards. When you take something out to wear, you turn the hanger around when you put it back, from the laundry. So after, a certain time period, 5-6 months, you can see everything that still has a backwards hanger you have not been wearing. The trick is now that I've done it, the trick is I look at it and I'm like, but that's still a good piece of whatever.
Yes.
Like your brain still does the things, and you have to just trust the system of it might be great and it's going to be great on someone else, but for whatever reason, you don't pick it. And even when you see that backwards hanger, even when I see it, I'm not picking it.
Yeah.
And so there's some reason, which isn't that it's not, still good.
Yeah.
But I'm not picking it. And so I need to just trust that system. Everything that's in the backwards hangers goes away. I'm not going to miss it, you guys. I won't even remember it was there after, a month or 2 because I wasn't wearing it at all.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's such a good way to be honest with yourself because it just turns it away from emotion of whether or not you like something enough to wear it. It's just a proven fact you didn't.
Right. And then trust the system and don't question it. Yeah. Because once you start to get the thought process of how you own it, and that means you need to keep it, and all of the mental stuff that, well, gosh, I hardly ever wore it and I spent this much money on it, or all the stuff that starts going through your head for whatever reason, just trust the system and let it be.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what the cost of that, they might be aspirational size, and it might be career clothes where you're, done with that career and you don't really do that anymore. It could be nostalgia on some of it, but I don't think, maybe some people keep a lot of clothes for nostalgia, but I think those are probably fewer. I think it's probably more you grew into a different size, or your style changed, or your lifestyle changed, and so you have different things. So you can be stuck in the past if you kind of just are continually looking at that doesn't really reflect who you are today. And you can just feel guilty about it, like we just talked about. So if you let those things go, then you can kind of, again, you get dreamy about what that future looks like and what are you going to be doing and what kind of clothes would you be wearing there. So if your closet, the prompt of the question you were going to ask yourself is, if your closet could only reflect your future, what stays?
Yeah. Great question.
Yeah. So go get in the closet, guys.
Yes. On
Turn
my
those
list.
hangers around. Trust the process.
Yes.
Okay, number 3, boxes of unsorted memorabilia.
I think we keep a lot of that because it is a category that accumulates over time. You don't go out and purchase it all at once or have it. It just is your life accumulating. And in the moment that you don't put it in the trash or a donation pile, it's important to you in that moment. And then we never... It doesn't work so well with the one in, one out rule because they all had importance that moment you put it in, and then suddenly you have thousands of trinkets or things, postcards from vacations, souvenirs, all of that little mementos of your life. It's suddenly a huge volume. It's not always kept all in one spot because it gets put wherever in the moment. Back to that Jerry Seinfeld video, when you first get home from vacation with a little, a souvenir or something, it's out in that place of honor. You're telling everybody that comes over about your trip and that you bought, this bowl or this whatever snow globe, and it's out because it's top of mind, but then it gets demoted and it gets shoved in a closet, and nobody has like the mementos closet or
so there's stuff everywhere.
It gets tucked to you, postcard in your junk drawer or whatever. When it moves from the fridge down, it all gets demoted into strange places. So it's a category that can be very scattered throughout your house and not easy to just compare in the this or that. The same as housewares or things.
Maybe that's a key to just kind of collect it all as you're going through different rooms. If you can't make the decision on those right now, they go into, a sentimental box or whatever. Yeah. And then you can have some time with those things to let them go. But people get
picture.
Yeah. People get paralyzed from that sentimentality. They just feel like, oh my gosh, what if I forget this? Or what if I, don't remember, honestly. I think there's anxiety about not being able to remember. And then there's anxiety about knowing that you haven't dealt with it. And I not only have my own whole bunch of sentimental, memorabilia, whatever. I now have all of my mom's and my grandma's because when we moved out of that house, that wasn't something that I could deal with. And so that kind of just went with the pictures into a room. And I still have to deal with that. So I'll let you know how that all goes as I go. But it does weigh on me. It's like, I know that I have to deal with it, and I don't want to. That's pretty much how that goes.
Yeah, it's definitely a process when you're an emotional process when you're going through either someone else's sentimental items that isn't here or able to do that for themselves or with you. I think that was touched on in the Swedish death cleaning book a lot. She was trying to avoid other people having to do that for herself. So that would be, if you're struggling with this category, that would be a great resource to go back and listen to our episode on that, or to read the book. It's fantastic. But, it's one of those things where it is an emotional category, but you kind of have to get through it to get to the freedom of being at the other side and having a small amount of things that are either your items to reflect back on your own travels and life and adventures, or someone else's, but in a manageable way that you've revisited them and can use them or display them or keep them where you can revisit those happy memories and not be a burden of boxes.
Yeah, it's freedom. The freedom gained from this is the peace and closure when the memories are honored and not hoarded.
Yeah.
Which is they're not being honored, honestly, in my house right now because they haven't been gone through in a way that I can honor them. They are just in a pile of things that it's my mom's pile and my some of my grandma's stuff, and I know that I need to get to it. And so the question prompt of asking yourself is, what if honoring the memory doesn't require keeping the thing? And I do know that it doesn't require keeping some of those things. And so I'm going to go back to one of our other episodes where we just kind of talked about sometimes what you need is somebody to come and help you. And so I think for this stuff, that's what will help me, is I need, my family to come, my cousins and my mom's brothers and whatever, to come all together and let's look through the pictures, let's look through the letters, who wants those? Yeah. If nobody wants those, it's okay. But spend time together reminiscing about it and having those memories. And I think that's what needs to happen for me. I don't think that doing it by myself is going to be great for me.
That night or weekend or whatever time you spend doing that as well becomes such an integral memory for your family. Yeah. Of those who are there doing that in itself becomes a family memory and enjoyable as well. Whereas you trudging through it yourself and being frustrated and hitting roadblocks in it brings those memories even down a notch into a more of a negative. Yeah. Whereas it can be so positive and get the job done, and everybody leaves with a little, and the bulk of it is not just weighing on you.
Well, and some of it, when I started to go through pictures, I would just start snapping it to the group chat of the family because you want them to be, do you remember this? Oh my gosh, do you remember this? It's not bad. So I don't want it to sound like, oh my gosh, it's this horrible thing that we have to do, and so we need to do it together. It was actually we were laughing and whatever, but I'm just taking, terrible phone snaps, of the pictures. And it was a whole discussion between all of us on text. And so having them there, I think, or having your family there or whatever, when you're trying to do stuff that's very sentimental, can be very helpful.
Yeah. And you get a lot of details filled in that, everybody's memories all together is awesome too. So yeah, that's definitely a good plan.
Okay, so number 4, outdated paperwork and manuals. Okay, so when we cleaned out my mom's house, we had, I don't even know how much paperwork. And the thing is, you don't know what's in the paperwork until you go through every piece of paperwork. And we had tax returns from 1972, and we had, all kinds of just junk mail. Stuff that mattered, stuff that didn't matter. Paper everywhere, manuals that we didn't own, things that she didn't own anymore. The amount of paper that was in her house was just crazy. And so if you can develop a system to not only work through that paperwork, but also in the future, don't keep it in the first place. Just stop keeping it. Then I think that is the number one thing. And I think for paperwork and stuff, this is always just in case. What if I need it? What if I need it? And so much stuff is online now. So much stuff. Any manual you can find online, and you can probably even find a YouTube video of somebody fixing whatever it is that's wrong with the refrigerator, ice maker, or whatever. And if you can't, you can call somebody. But honestly, all of that stuff doesn't need to be kept. And we did a podcast on paperwork. Yes. So if you want to deep dive into that, go listen to our podcast on paperwork.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've gone through this, this resonates with my family this year. We've been dealing with some challenges with my dad, and my mom has had to go through paperwork that needed supplied to various places. And so it's been a monumental task for her to get all of their paperwork organized properly. But what I will say is that their house was not overwhelming with like so much paperwork. So it wasn't even the case study of just like 10 file cabinets, but it really is nuanced that even though it wasn't a massive amount, it was not organized. And the peace of mind now that she's gone through it, I mean, it was challenging, and, she would send me photos of, it all spread out on the space. And now, she was so proud to show me how organized it is. But what we've gained as a family is that, she struggled a bit because some of the information was likely just in my dad's knowledge base that he wasn't able to share with her. And so she had to go find. And in her doing that, as much as myself and my siblings wanted to be helpful, you can't really trust, or not trust isn't the right word, but you can't really have someone else help you unless you've done the organization,
right?
Because they don't know what to look for or how. And what we've gained as a family is that, it's all organized for my mom for her day-to-day, life and monthly bill tracking and everything that they could need for my dad and his care, but also because it's organized now in the right way, if any of us as, the adult kids needed to step in, we could, whereas we couldn't have a year ago.
Yeah.
Because it would have been so much digging or so much unknown information as to where to go. So even if you don't have a ton, that organization as to where your accounts are, where, who to call for different things, who has the information and where to find it, that's the key.
Yes.
Not just getting rid of stacks of paperwork.
Well, yeah. And yes, absolutely. Organizing it is the key. But once you've organized it, you can get rid of the stacks of paperwork.
Absolutely.
And you can just keep the most recent, bill or, or bank statement or 401k statement or, whatever that is. And you just keep that in a working binder that, or a working system, file cabinet, whatever that is, that then the rest of it can go because you have the most recent one, that's all you need, and somebody can take it from where they need to have it. So file cabinets just end up getting full and then never looked at again, honestly, hardly ever. So
confession, I did go through my paperwork in our own house, and I had tax returns back to 2001.
So lots of cities have shred days, or you can take that, stuff to be shredded. And we actually had so much when we moved that we had to call the shredding company, and they came and got all the boxes for us because that's how much we had. But gosh, that felt great to let that go too.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So the prompt for that is this truly relevant for your life anymore, or are you just keeping it because you're afraid? You're just afraid you might need it. So, and then the answer is once you organize it, you will know.
Yeah.
So that's you. If you are looking at it, you're like, I don't have any idea. That's because you don't have a system to have it organized.
Yeah, absolutely. And some file folders and a box it's very simple.
Yes.
If you dive in and do it.
Yep. Okay, number 5, hobby supplies for your projects you no longer have. We did a whole podcast on hobby stuff too.
Yeah.
So go listen to that one. If this one is your problem, go listen to that one. But deep dive into hobbies. I think we keep it mostly because we feel guilty that we didn't do the hobby. Like we spent money on it. We thought we were going to, we didn't do it, or we did it for a while and we let it go and we don't want to really pick it up anymore. And so we invested some time in it. And I think really this one is totally guilt.
Yeah, I think even if you did invest in it as a passion, if it's no longer that phase in life, as hard as it is, just facing that and making space for your next passion is okay.
Yeah, we find likely if you are a hobby kind of a person, you have picked up something else. Like it's not crafty people usually just move on to the next crafty thing that catches their eye and they're super excited about.
Yeah.
And so
sporty people move on to the next
right.
Sport, and same thing.
I had all kinds of scrapbooking stuff that I never ended up doing anything with, and I ended up giving that to somebody who loved it because they were scrapbooking and they loved it. And that I thought I would. I did a little. It wasn't my thing, but that's okay.
Yeah.
So again, does this bring energy or obligation to you? So that's the question. Give yourself that permission to evolve and give yourself space for new interests and for growing and what that future self is going to look like. And don't keep it just because you feel like you've got to justify to yourself that you need to, pick that hobby up again, or you need to do whatever. If it really isn't fitting into that future you're envisioning for yourself, then let it go. So the question is, does this bring energy or obligation?
Yeah. I love that question.
Yeah.
So number 6, this goes back to, the duplicates and the backups you never use. This goes back to a lot of people that just are savers for I might need it just in case. That's the category that we're talking about here. So it could be, a scarcity mindset, which we see often, and that's okay. It's just moving past that. Or the what if what I have breaks? Do I always have a backup handy? I think the problem comes when that turns into 3, 4, 5 backups, or the broken ones are the ones you're keeping for that later. Well, if I fix it, it would be good again.
Yeah, so it ends up being overstuffed drawers, overstuffed cabinets, all of that, it's overstuffed garages. So when we were cleaning out Mark's mom's stuff before she moved to in with his sister, she had a walk-in closet that was just full, like there was no walking in that closet anymore. And we started pulling things out, and she loved iced tea with lemon. Lots of lemon, loved iced tea. So she had the Mr. Tea. So like instead of Mr. Coffee, it's Mr. Tea. And so when we ended up pulling stuff out of that closet, she had 3 or 4 unopened Mr. Teas. And she had one on the counter that she uses. And we're like, what is going on? And they were like, everything was wrapped in the bag it came from the store. So like from the store, it just still in the bag with the receipt, shoved in the closet. Like tons and tons of things were like that. And we're like, what's going on? And she's like, well, they were going to stop making them. Now, I don't know if they were or they weren't, but that was in her head, that they were going to stop making the Mr. T, and hers was going to break and she was going to need it. And so the question is, if that's your thought process, what could you do instead of Mr. T? If it broke, the worst case scenario, they stopped doing it, making them, and it broke, like what else could that be? What could that look like? And so, give yourself that plan B. Yes. If you needed it again, what would your plan B be? That's the question. Yeah.
And I think the answer is usually simpler than we make it to be in our minds.
Yeah. So, and I actually don't know if they've stopped making them, but
I don't know. It would be an interesting thing to
let us know in the comments if you know whether they have stopped making Mr. T.
Yes, I did have one years ago for my kids. I'm not an iced tea drinker. So
yeah. Oh my gosh, she loved it and used it. I mean, she really did use it like every day. Like it was one of those things that if you said to her, "Would you need to buy this again?" the answer would be, "I absolutely need to buy this again." Yes. But it was just funny that she had 3 or 4 of them, because she was just so worried, that it wasn't gonna.
Yeah, and I think people can lean towards that mindset around way too many items. So then it becomes more moving towards just hoarding things because of a worry versus a reality.
Scarcity. It's the scarcity mindset for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, number 7, decor that no longer feels like you.
Yeah.
Once it was trendy, or somebody gave it to you, or it was expensive. And, I think we find this a lot when people, redid their whole house in some decade and then never redo it again. Yeah. And sometimes that's okay because they love it and they, don't care. Like it's what makes them comfortable and they like it. But sometimes it's a home that feels, stale or mismatched or, not who you currently are. Again, we're future thinking. And what do you really want that future to look like? And we stop looking at the things that are around us. We just stop looking.
Yeah, I think so. I moved from the house I'd been in for 20 years about 5 years ago. And when I packed from that, I packed more from a mindset of, do I like things still? And so, I gave away a lot, sold or donated a lot from that house because I was downsizing to a smaller spot. But I kept things that have been boxed up for the last few years because I liked them, and they were the things I had on the walls or, on the surfaces in my old house. And I didn't really evaluate whether they would fit my new life.
Yeah.
And so now, as I'm trying to get ready for our, what we anticipate being, our final house, I am going through what was stored, and I'm like, why did I keep this? And I can picture where it was in my old house, but it doesn't fit who I've become at all. If I would have made a quick move without that storage in between, I probably would have unpacked it and set it in a similar, this goes on a dining room table, this goes here, and I probably would have just out of that habit. And so now, as we're getting ready to make that final move, we have, someone helping us make some decisions on design. And, she asked me to email photos of any non-negotiable, this needs to be, this is a family item, whatever.
I want this in my house.
This needs to be incorporated into the design. And it was shocking to me. I only had 5 things out of, anything I could think of that I had in storage or in our current home. Asking my husband his opinion, there were only 5 things that at this phase in life, I'm like, this needs to be somewhere in my eyesight. I need to see this.
That's incredible.
And I was like,
and so honest, good job.
Yeah. And it was having to make a decision to take a photo and write why I wanted it or where I pictured it being, instead of just packing boxes and then unpacking.
That's such a great
out
exercise.
Of habit. So yeah, I definitely was like, we need to suggest this, because it was a really, walking around all the rooms and thinking what I had.
How much do I really care about that?
Yeah.
Would I really have to have that?
Yeah. And it was 5 things. I mean, there's plenty of things we will take that are just our daily use things. But when you look at what you surround yourself out of habit, it was eye-opening.
Yeah, because, and this is the freedom that you're going to gain when you do this, is you're going to get a fresh, calming space that reflects your next chapter, which is exactly what you are trying to do.
Yeah.
You're ready to move on to that next chapter. You've waited a long time for it. You absolutely deserve it. And so you are looking for that. And so much of what you had doesn't fit into that anymore, into that future. So the prompt on this one is, would you buy it again today? And your answer was no. I don't even need to take a picture of and share it with my designer. I don't even know.
Yeah. Yeah. So really eye-opening exercise, which I would suggest, if a move or a redesign of a space is part of getting rid of your things, don't just move it, like when we were kids and we moved it all out into the hall and it all came back in.
Yeah. I wish we would have learned that when we were younger.
Yeah.
That it doesn't need to
come back in and really deliberately making those choices.
Yeah.
Is a great way to do it.
Yeah. I love that. The last one is unmade decisions. And this could honestly be anything that you have that you're waffling around. I don't know, should we do it? Do I need to keep this? Do I not need to keep this? And a lot of times you're overanalyzing it. So you're paralyzing yourself by overanalyzing it, or you're afraid you're going to choose the wrong thing. What if I get rid of that and then, I wanted it back or whatever. And so the cost of that is that you have a lot of lingering items and a kind of mental to-do list that weighs on you and steals your attention.
Yeah.
And if it's in your visual space, it's also weighing on you visually. Like, it causes actual anxiety that is like scientifically proven that happens. And so if you can make those decisions about those things, you can get mental clarity over it and, ownership of your own space.
Yeah. A delayed decision is still a decision. What would your future you want resolved and, off of your brain space?
I love that question. A delayed decision is still a decision.
Yeah.
Yep. We talk about that a lot with our kids too, when they're just not doing, it's like, you're still deciding, like you're still, framing the future of your life with trying not to make that decision.
Yeah.
And then would the future you want that resolved, or would your future kids want it resolved? Would you want to leave that for them? So that's something else to think about, because I think a lot of those delayed decisions end up on your kids. And as the kid, I'm going to say, don't do that. So.
Yeah. Right.
Make the decision. Yeah.
Yeah, and so by tackling these 8 categories, or whatever category it is that's weighing on you, and just getting it done, you can then face that life without that overwhelm, and you can think about, what does it feel like to wake up in a space that matches your values, not your baggage.
That would be amazing. Yeah. Picture your house in the next 6 months. What does that look like? What have you let go of? Just visualize it a little bit. What do you know that has to stay? Again, it's probably not that much.
Yeah. I'm keeping a little tally of how much, we're sending to donations and, whatever avenue for getting rid of stuff. And I know that we will definitely be in the 80-20 rule, and it's amazing. I would have said, I need all of this, and my husband would have said, we need all of this, and we just are trying to be brutally honest about what we want and don't want, and there's so much tucked in all the spaces of our houses.
When y'all go to move, you will just be shocked at how many boxes you can fill up if you don't do this before you do it.
Yes.
So just remember, letting go, it really isn't about loss. It's about choosing your freedom or your future or you, honestly. It's not about loss. Letting go of stuff is not losing.
Yeah. When you delay it, sometimes it can become a quick loss, but when you're starting, where you're at and just making progress, it definitely is a choice to find that freedom and that space for new adventures and new emotions and new things to enjoy. So I think we would encourage you to just pick one of these categories, one of something that's been a stumbling block, and just jump in and tackle it this week. And that freedom that you'll gain is amazing.
Let us know in the comments how it goes.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll be back next time for another episode. And if you need any resources or any advice as to what category you should tackle first, you can always reach out to us through our website, www.downsizingroadmap.com.
See you next time.
Thanks for joining us on the Downsizing Roadmap Podcast. If you found this episode helpful, be sure to subscribe, leave us a review, and share it with someone who might need a little downsizing inspiration. Have questions or ideas for future episodes? Reach out to us on our website, www.downsizingroadmap.com. Until next time, let's keep simplifying and moving forward.